I'm Stefan Baumann. I would like to invite you on a special journey. A journey of exploration. To discover the splendor. To feel the excitement. And to experience the wonders of painting outdoors. In one of America's most stunning locations, I invite you to come to the Grandview Ranch and see for yourself what a weekend can do to transform your art. Everything you need to know is on our website, www.stefanbaumann.com. You know, the thing is, it's a painting of actually nothing. And it's so wonderful because of that. You know, it's just this moment of when you're driving down the freeway and all of a sudden you see God coming through the clouds. You notice it, and you're not going, oh, that's a pretty light on those trees. It's like, no, you see this.
Not till you crash into one, and then you see God.
It's like me watching YouTube when I'm driving through San Francisco. Anyway, so anyway, this is, it could be a little bit, I love your boldness. And I love this, and at times it works, and this is just working, that little, I just see that bowl, like, here, this is it, that's my final thing. Part of this exercise was to practice some subliminal painting. Part of it is like, paint something out of your imagination, and try to come up with an idea. Wasn't this where we were painting a sky from our memory?
A godly sky.
Yeah. So you have to get that in your brain, you have the right side and left side. When you're painting in your left side, that's your thinking side. Oftentimes, when you're right-handed, you're dominant left, and when you're left-handed, you're dominant right. And so if a lot of the left-hander people are actually artists because they have easier access to the right side of the brain. And so Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo and a lot of other really great artists were lefties. But if you're right-handed, sometimes it's kind of hard to access that subconscious part of your brain. And your brain isn't cut into like left and right, but that's just the only way you can kind of separate the brain. But the right side of the brain doesn't operate without the left side, and the left side doesn't operate without the right side. They still work together, but there's a part of your brain that mathematically tries to think things out. And Linnea is that kind of person. Okay, she wants to know the recipe, she wants to know what's causing the work behind it. She's good with numbers and figures and knows how to like get to the bottom line and figure things out. She's like, knows where she's going. She's an on top lady, and I don't think any of you would argue with that. But the thing is, subliminally, she is a passionate, observant, nature loving person. And she's feminine. And so she works on a feminine energy, which is actually more about feeling. It's more of a consciousness that's more connected with the environment. So she's into that. And part of that is because of all the years of evolution that we've gone through. Mothers who weren't aware of their surroundings and couldn't sense that there was a lion at the outside of the cave. So if they weren't that way, they would walk out and a lion would eat them. But women use that feminine intuition. And so there's that part of them. And no matter how left dominant you are, you still have that. Now men are the exact opposite. Men in the olden days had to go hunt. And they had to go, me go north, me go this way, right? And so they kind of had to know where the sun was. And if this sounds familiar, you can kind of imagine you and your husband going on a road trip. Okay, so he's going, oh, that's nothing. You just kind of go north or northeast for about 150 miles, and then it's straight southwest, right? And you're sitting here going, women are like, travel down till you see a fence, and along the fence, there's a tree. There's two trees over there. One's right. See, one's more perception and one's more like accurate. So men are more like dynamic. So men aren't in touch with that intuitiveness. Men are not in touch with that feel-good color thing, but they can get you to where you need to go. They parallel park beautiful, and women will drive around looking for another option. Okay, so but the thing is, we have all this access, and it all depends on the conversation that you have in your head. And usually it's just two people up there. I myself have a full committee. up there. So it's like, it takes...
chairman of the board, that's the
I'm
question.
not quite. No, sometimes I'm not. That's where I run into a problem. But the thing is being a feminine, she has that subliminal connection. And I said, you need to just go with your instincts when you're painting. This is the same thing with Dottie. She needs to go with her instincts. Dottie's the exact opposite. Dottie's all about instinct. And so she needs to kind of pull back and get a little bit more science behind her painting, because she's just all about getting this. This is Dottie's thing. She's like, Linnea's more like, what was the process that you did to get there, you know? But when we get her to shut that off a little bit, her paintings are just extraordinary, because she has subliminally, she has a wonderful world, and we all have this. We all have gone through life with this side of our brain that has told us and shown us, and it's the time sometimes when you wake up and you look at a sunset, and it's been there for 10 minutes, but you didn't see it, and all of a sudden you look up and you go, ah, that's beautiful, wow, and then you nudge your husband and go, hey, look at that, right? That's your subconscious brain waking up, going, oh wow, that's pretty, you know? That part of your brain stores information. You can access in there information about if you get into a car accident, you can access license plates from an accident and stuff. You can memorize things. Subconscious is all there. When you go into hypnosis, they go into the right side of the brain to pull this out. So you have all this stuff inside your brain, and when you access that, there's really some beautiful, wonderful things back there. It's just being able to shut up the left side of the brain, because they'll sit there and go, it shouldn't be that way. You go, shut up. I feel it. Oh, enough of your feelings. Just come on. There's got to be a way of doing this that's quicker. So you got to be able to shut that negative side of your brain off and be more positive. And so the reason why I'm getting to this is that this is a perfect place. This is all subconscious right brain stuff. Like we got light coming into the painting here. Now subconsciously I'm looking at it, and the brain always wants to figure out something. So subconsciously I'm looking at this going, wow, this looks like beautiful oak trees in here. And that's a meadow. I can almost, if I glance, this even looks like a meadow behind here with some distant mountains. And so when there's no real thing to hold on to, your brain can actually go into here and start subconsciously. Now this is where your left brain just blows up and says, I'm out of here, okay? And your right brain starts to take over. And this is where you're kind of like just starting this painting, okay? What we want to do is we want to get into that right side of your brain. Is pay attention, because it's going to be your homework assignment this week. So anyway, so that said, you can see actually a beautiful landscape. I can see beautiful oak trees and another meadow back here, maybe a farmhouse. And if you look further, you can say, oh, I could probably see the suggestion of more mountains and maybe further trees back here. Something that goes into the distance, or even like sky that goes open, like underneath here, so that the clouds look like they're stacked behind some background mountain back here. You can almost see where the mountain forms that are. But the thing is, if you sit long enough in front of your easel in your studio, and you sip on wine a bit, make sure your turpentine container is left open. You just kind of like breathe the fumes for a bit, and you just kind of relax. A lot of you sense this once you open up like that and relax, and you don't try to make anything out of it. The right brain comes through and says, hey, there's some cool stuff here. Look at this. And you start picking this out. Sometimes you have to change the light on it. Some of you have put your painting down against the wall in your living room, and the curtains were open just enough, and a light ray comes in, or even from behind, you go, oh, I want that to happen, because it's that idea. But why didn't you have that idea beforehand? Yeah, and it's always good. It's always like the light lands just where it's supposed to be. Have you ever had that happen? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you think, oh, that would make that painting better. And then you run around trying to do it, and then it doesn't work, because that's light. Even though we paint with light, that's hard to do. But anyway, so what your homework assignment will be is to actually redo the homework assignment where you're actually doing like the finger of God, something that is just incredible, the moment in time when skies just burst and make things open to becoming something. And after you finish that, I want you to take a look at that as a second review, maybe the next day, and be with it for a while and see if you can get the right side of the brain to take it to something else. I don't know what it is. Some of you will see angels in the clouds. Some of you will see dragons. Some of you will focus in and say, oh my God, I can actually see Moses pointing out, whatever that is, because that's your subliminal mind. That's where your creativity is.
So should we just go and just put colors on and just not even think about it that much?
At first, just kind of dwell on just the most, out of your imagination, create the most gorgeous moment that you can recreate in the sky, whatever that is. It could be billowing white clouds, it could be this, okay? And then, push it as far as you can. And then the next day, have another look at it and look to see, okay, well, how can I take this to the next level? What we're trying to do is that we're trying to bring the subconscious out. Some people would call that the genius. And start playing around with impulse, where you're making
those things in.
yeah, and just kind of just sky, ground. I mean, this, like I say, this is obviously grass and light on it here, but see, she's got these things going on. I'm not sure if they're clouds, but once I point them out as trees, oh yeah, so this needs like a trunk over here, and I could pull, maybe get more greenness in here. And then when I look closer, there's some background mountains, another meadow, or these could be bigger mountains like Napa. And then back behind here, I could have some blue sky opening up, give us a feeling of the light coming back in there. But the whole idea is to try to not work at copying a painting.
Okay.
The whole point is that artistic,
Put in like
take it and take it apart into another level.
So that one that we did of skies before, we could almost just work it further, right?
Yeah, you can even take the last painting you did and take it to the next level, whatever that is. Now remember, a good landscape painting has a foreground, middle ground, background.
Yeah,
So foreground, middle ground,
I have
background.
the one with the fence down.
Yeah, that one could be revisited because that doesn't feel natural, and we talked about that. So you can do that.
But not taking that particular painting and turning it into a waterfall.
You could. If you looked at it and all of a sudden you saw, oh man, I can see the light, but I see more like big waterfalls and boulders and rocks, and maybe this would be trees.
Yeah, that's what I
It doesn't have to be a skyscape. You could take it to another level. Take your old paintings that you did for the homework assignment last. And so, you could squint your eyes and say, oh, there's a waterfall here, and maybe even another waterfall up in there. This could be a canyon, and this is like Winter Canyon, and these are trees and rocks. And then see how all of a sudden your brain starts to look at it a little differently? Because you've given it another thing. So think out of the box a little. Instead of thinking of it as a big skyscape, take it into a canyon and see if you can't close it in. Join us on our website at www.thegrandview.org and get more information about our show. There you can download our free book, Everything You Need to Know About Outdoor Painting.